Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be in the world. Today's lesson is all about how to make a hanging basket. Now, what we've got here is a very simple 14-inch metal hanging basket. Now this can be used for anything. You could put your own herbs into them. You could put tumbling toms in them. You could put strawberries in them. We're not going to do that. We're going to go for a nice flowery hanging basket full of colour. But what we do need is something to fill it with. We've got a few options. We could use something like this. Pre-made hanging basket liner. Drop straight in, nice and mossy. Personally, I don't like it. I think it looks a bit pants. Not going to use that. We could use this, something dry, made out of reconstituted peat. Really, I don't like that either. So what we are going to use is good old-fashioned sphagnum moss. Brilliant, looks a lot more decorative, a lot better, and it also keeps the water in a lot more as well. So that's what we're going to use. So we've got a hanging basket, we've got our moss. Should we get stuck in? Now, first things first, you're going to need something for the very centre of your hanging basket. If you've got a large hanging basket, you could use something like this, a cordyline, nice, bright red, but only for the larger baskets. Failing that, you've always got your Papua New Guinean patiens, loads of flowers right throughout the summer again. But what we're going to use is the quintessential British geranium. Nice, bright, white, stand nice and prominent right in the middle of our basket and produce these nice, bright white flowers right throughout the whole of the summer. We will also need 4 trailing plants to go around the outside of a hanging basket to cascade right over the sides. What we're going to use, Nepeta, the Indian spearmint, a trailing fuchsia that's going to have loads of nice, bright, vibrant pink flowers, a cheeky little Bacopa, again, loads and loads of white flowers right over the sides, and finally, a trailing bloodgood Surfinia. Bright red flowers right throughout the summertime. We're also going to need some infill plants. Now, what these are going to do is make sure that we can't see any compost at all in our basket. It's going to be jam-packed full of colour. So, 2 trays of petunias should do the trick. That's 12 plants in total. And we're also going to take a tray of trailing Nebelia to go in between the 2 petunias we're going to pop in to cascade down the sides. And as for plants, that's it. Time to make our basket, but first things first, make sure you leave your chain off right until the end. We don't want this getting in the way. Get your basket, fill it full of this sphagnum moss, about 2 to 3 inches deep, and all this is going to do is just help keep our basket nice and wet, especially through the dry days. Into this, we're going to use normal multi-purpose compost. Don't be fooled by tub and basket compost. It's a few extra quid for nothing that's going to give you any real gain. Good few handfuls. Don't be shy. Make sure you get it into every corner so it's nice. A little bit more moss round here, perhaps. And there we go. Another thing not to be fooled by is the water storage crystals. Now what these help to do is you pop them in, they hold onto the water, so when it is dry they let off a little bit more water for the plants. It costs you about £4 for a packet like that. Something a lot cheaper is a good old-fashioned car sponge. Throwing it away with me there. Chop it up into little squares and mix that into your compost, and that will do exactly the same as your water retentive crystals would do. It's just going to help hold onto the water that little bit more. Start from the centre. We obviously picked our geranium. Straight in, bang into the middle of our basket. Now if you remember, we also picked 4 trailers, and they're going to go at 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. 12 o'clock, we're going to go for the Nepeta, right on the very edge, so that's going to nicely cascade. At our 3 o'clock, we're going to go for the bloodgood, which is a bright red Surfinia. That can go into there. At 6 o'clock, what should we have next? Let's have a little bit of Bacopa, shall we? I think this is fantastic. It really does give you loads of white flowers right throughout the summer. That goes in at 6 o'clock. And then finally, at 9 o'clock, we're going to have our trailing fuchsia. Now, with trailing fuchsias, they do grow a little bit upright, so don't be afraid to break a little bit off the bottom of them and just plant them slightly on the side. That's just going to help kick off the trailing, really. So there we go. Looks a little bit messy, but as you can see, we've got geranium in the middle, 12, 3, 6, and 9. This is when the infillers come in. I'm doing this on my lap, by the way. If you want to make it nice and steady, don't be afraid to plant it into a bucket just so it keeps it nice and steady. I'm just like getting nice and mucky. We've got our infills here, and you'll notice that in between the main parts and the two little trailers that we have got these little triangles that have formed. That's what we're going to use our infills for. Now I've used petunias. I just think they're nice and cheery, nice and bright. And the main aim of this is that we make sure that absolutely no compost is showing at all. So we're going to need 8 because we have got these 4 little sections. So 2 go into there, nice and bright. Move around a little bit more. 2 more. A little tick in there in the way. 1 of those in there. 1 of those in there. Keep moving your basket all the time, just making these little holes. Let's go for one in flower, nice little purple one. Don't be afraid to be a little bit rough, you know, really make sure they're nice and firmed in. And finally, the last little section is just in there. Little pink one. And another little pink one in there. Make sure that's all nice and firm, and as you can see, that's really starting to get nice and full, but we are left with just these very, very kind of tight edges again that just showing a little bit of compost. That's what we've bought our lobelia for. Now you don't need a lot of lobelia, it will thicken up. This is mixed cascades, so there's going to be lots of purples, whites and blues. Don't be afraid again to plant this on its side, as you'll get it like that, but it's going to trail, so it's another trailer. So just into these little sections, just cover that up. Another one of those into there, that little gap there. And keep moving it, you know, don't be afraid as well. If you have got a little gap, put a little, you know, a couple of bits of lobelia in. The aim of this is to make it as full as we possibly can. I mean, that's looking really nice and full. Our final little gap is one more just in there. Now I'm sure you'll all agree back at whoever's watching, you can't get much fuller than that, but we're not quite finished yet. We do want to have a little look around. There might be little areas where things aren't quite buried. Just add in a little bit more compost just to bed everything in with. So no roots are showing. Roots are bad for the simple fact that if it does get dry, things are going to kind of pop up a little bit more. We don't want anything falling out onto the patio. You don't want that while you're drinking your gin and tonics on the patio at all. Again, filling in as we go along, putting things in, making sure things are nice and kind of compact. Maybe a little more just in there. And alas, I hear you say, I've not fed it at all. No, that's right, we've not fed it. We have got some of these pellets here, Osmocote. They come in these little pellet form. This is 6 months worth of feed. And just don't be afraid to pop about 4 or 5 of those in there. Just in plug form, just go around like we do, everything in time. 12, 3, 6, 9, anyway you can poke one in, and that'll gradually, that's a slow release fertiliser that'll just help to kind of, as the season goes on, when it gets watered, release all the nutrients, nice and balanced, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium for root growth and healthy flowers. So that is our basket completely finished. We'll pop it back into the pot. We'll pop our chain on. There we go, one basket, all done. So just to recap, start off with your basket, 14 inches, and basically line it with a nice sphagnum moss. This is going to help hold on to the moisture a lot more and it looks better to the eye. Fill it in with normal multi-purpose compost and a little bit of chopped up car sponge as well, as again, that's going to hold on to the water a lot like a water retentive crystal would do. Start in the middle. Big plant in the middle, and gradually come outside with 4 basket plants going at 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock. That'll leave you these little pockets which you're going to infill with petunias and lobelia, just so no compost is showing at all. And last of all, feed it with a slow released general fertiliser, something like Osmocote in tablet forms that you can pop about 4 or 5 into and top up with tomato feed every 2 weeks right over the summer period. That's it. You'll have beautiful baskets all summer long. So until the next time, get out there and get growing.